This is a discussion of Stardom All Star Grand Queendom with Enigma V4. Stardom's biggest show of all time might end in the retirement of a popular wrestler. Today, as hype is building to insane levels for this event, we discuss every possible outcome to Saya Kamitani versus Tam Nakano that we can possibly think of. But first, we discuss two of the epic matches that have us highly intrigued. Hope you enjoy.
Now, on the broader topic of Stardom and the major moves that Stardom is going to be making, where certain members of the Stardom roster will end up falling, or will they be falling completely off the map, never to be heard from again, we should have a secondary discussion, not too long-winded, not too long form, about this giant event that is on the horizon. At the end of the month of April, April 27th, 2025, Stardom will present to the world All Star Grand Queendom in the year 2025, in which Stardom is hoping to put together the biggest show that they have ever put together. There are a number of giant matches on this card, a number of titles on the line, and even more on the line for the wrestlers Tam Nakano and Saya Kamitani. Perhaps their entire wrestling careers on the line if the stipulation is meant to be believed. And as I've said, I'm losing my mind, losing my sanity. I can't tell how strongly to believe in the stipulation or not. We've got a random Cinderella wish that is hiding out somewhere. Who knows if or when that will be utilized? So to talk about All-Star Grand Queendom 2025, the first thing I would like to know is, when we look at the card as it currently stands, Enigma V4, can you tell me about a match that you are seeing that you can't wait to watch at the show?
Right now, it's a tie between Mayu Iwatani versus Syuri and Azumi versus SOK. Those two have my attention for two separate reasons. Azumi versus SOK has my attention just because it's not even the white belt this time. And I've been one of the very few people that say, oh yeah, next time I want to see SOK versus Azumi should be for the red or white belt or a 5-star finals. But this is also for the leadership of Neo Genesis, and neither woman in the respective groups prior were leaders, yet people were claiming that they should be. A lot of people were clamoring for SOK to be leader of Oedo Tai in Natsuko Tora's absence. In Utami's departure, a lot of people immediately were asking for Azumi to be leader. So this has huge ramifications because we might get what we finally want, and that's either woman being a faction leader. I might even say like the Wonder of Stardom Time might fall second to the stakes in this match. And then speaking of stakes, when it comes to the IWGP Women's World Championship being held by Mayu Iwatani, I think this just comes with the territory now. Every title defense feels like, what if this is Mayu's last match? But then you have Mayu also saying that she wants to break the record for most IWGP World Heavyweight title defenses, which I believe the reign is still at 720. And if she beats Syuri, she's pretty much on her way to doing so. And defense numbers, I'm pretty sure it was this defense number 10. It might be.
Yeah. As far as I know, if this defense is successful, it will be the 10th successful defense. That is what I think is the case, not positive.
But yeah, Mayu is on that mission, which that's not a Stardom record. That is, I believe, a Bushi Road record. When it comes to IWGP, I think of New Japan Pro Wrestling and Stardom. So for her to do something similar to what Athena has done in Ring of Honor, which is be the longest reigning champion, both men and women, that is a goal that Mayu Iwatani is definitely on. But again, with this match, and she is facing Syuri, which I think Mayu brings out the best in Syuri. I think with this being Syuri's second attempt and her having to first fail, then go through sorry, and even though it was a time limit draw, I think it's all or nothing for her. Like, she's put in way too much work. She's waited too much time. She's taken too much damage. I think Syuri is going to just unload everything she's gotten, all of her emotion, all of her heart, all of her soul. But how about you? What matches really grab your eyes? What match makes you want to sit down and say, I gotta watch this?
Well, I think these are two excellent choices, and I would be happy to chime in on both of them. I think you've made two great selections, and I can't really outperform the choices you've made. So Starlight Kid versus Azumi for the Wonder of Stardom title. To say that there's history between Starlight Kid and Azumi really doesn't do it justice. This is history with a capital H and with 17 exclamation points after the word. Starlight Kid was the very first Future of Stardom champion in this company, and I believe her very first title defense was against Azumi. These two have literally climbed the ladder in Stardom, beginning as children and becoming full-grown adults side by side and creating legendary matches along the way. It's truly an insane pairing, an insane shared journey between these two. As you know, Starlight Kid would refer to Azumi as her eternal foe. They are tied together by fate. They are bound to get together by an absolutely phenomenal level of skill and storytelling. And some would argue that that reached its highest peak in the year 2022 when they faced each other for the high-speed title in a pretty much all-time great Stardom match. They then tried to match or exceed that high benchmark the following year in a rematch for the high-speed title in 2023. They had a very tough act to follow. This was I want to say this was in the month of March 2023, coming off of the heels of a Wonder of Stardom title match between Saya Kamitani and Hazuki, sometimes referred to as one of the greatest, if not the greatest, Wonder of Stardom title match ever.
I'd say.
And Starlight Kid and Azumi still, in spite of all of that, put on an absolutely brilliant match. The thing that they do that almost is more well executed than anyone else is that they are always very, very conscious of the history that exists. They remember the spots and the storytelling in each of the matches that have led up to this point. They remember how certain submissions were employed. They remember how certain sequences played out. And they are very, very closely and keenly aware that the audience has seen these moments and the audience knows these moments. So what is going to happen? I can almost guarantee you this will happen at All Star Grand Queendom this year, is that we are going to see a number of things that look somewhat familiar between these two. We're going to start to hear the lyrics to a song that we think we know. And then they're going to remix it on us. They're going to change how the verse leads into the chorus. They're going to upset the apple cart. They're going to play with our expectations and surprise us in ways that are going to make this match truly pop and make this match really, really stand out amongst a very crowded, absolutely highly competitive string of matches in this card. But the way that they're going to do it is by drawing from the past and building towards what is going to be the future. For both of these wrestlers who are now extremely close to being at the top of the company, they absolutely deserve that to be the case, but they once again are going to have to prove it for those out there that aren't aware of who these two people are, what they're capable of, and why their careers are both going to be legendary.
First off, I love the musical justice you were using. Second, I am actually looking forward to that. We're going to look at spots and go, oh, I've seen this before. They did this in 2022. They did this in 2021. They did this in a tag match. And then it'll be something completely different, something completely new. Because, like you said, they've known each other since they're practically children, teenagers. And with time, they're going to change it up a bit. So all I'm wondering now is, what's going to be new?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get too hyperbolic about this, but we're talking about creative geniuses here. We're talking about people who think about wrestling. They've grown up with wrestling being a part of their lives. They've trained and trained and trained day in, day out, year round for their entire lives, damn near. And this is just something that they can sort of compose and improvise. It's very musical. They can conduct a symphony. They can write a masterpiece. And they're going to try to do that. I can guarantee you they're going to try to do that this year. And we can just kind of sit back with the knowledge that it's for us to enjoy and that there's going to be something that is absolutely going to impress us and stick in our memories. So I just wish them luck. And I'm just getting more excited about the match talking about it. So let me go ahead and talk a little bit about Mayu Iwatani versus Syuri for the IWGP title. If we're looking at it in the frame of this championship picture, we can call this Mayu Iwatani versus Syuri 2, because this is following up the January 4th, 2024 match at Itenyon Gate between these two absolute psychopaths. They already carved their names in blood into the history of this title, putting on one of the most memorable matches in IWGP women's history. And for them, this is very much also about trying to live up to the standard that they themselves set. Now, the thing I want to point out about this match is that there's a strange echoing of history going on here as well. Firstly, this is 2 years removed from All Star Grand Queendom 2023, which is where Mayu Iwatani was crowned the IWGP Women's Champion in her victory over Mercedes Moné. So this is ultimately the 2-year anniversary of that crowning achievement. This is also, which I don't know if I've heard anybody mention this, this is also a perfect mirror image when we look at not only this match, but when we look at Saya Kamitani versus Tam Nakano as well. Now, I hope this is true, because maybe I'm starting to have doubts. I believe this is a perfect mirror image of the two headlining matches of World Climax Night 2 in April of 2022, where Saya Kamitani was defending the white belt against Tam Nakano, who she dethroned to take the belt. So they're echoing their past almost picture perfectly. And now in a reversal, Mayu Iwatani, the IWGP champion, is going to try and fend off Syuri, the challenger, whereas in 2022, Syuri, the red belt champion, was defending against Mayu. Now, that makes me wonder, because at World Climax, the victorious wrestlers were Saya Kamitani and Syuri. And it is very possible that this year, the victorious wrestlers will once again be Saya Kamitani and Syuri. So a lot to think about, a lot to reflect on, a lot to question, but we know, like, there's no doubt that 100% of the effort, the blood, sweat, and tears will be placed in the center of the ring between Mayu and Syuri. This is the biggest match I think Syuri's had since they faced each other previously. She is coming off of the heartbreak, the betrayal perpetrated by Konami, and the knowledge that she has never gotten a chance to fully close the book and get back to Konami. Konami, notably in some kind of, when did she say this? I think it was either in an interview or a backstage promo, mentioned that this year she would like to challenge for the IWGP title. So maybe that is the prize that stands in the center of the final scene in the revenge film between Syuri and Konami. But we have to get there first. We have to have a changing of the title. Sorry, go ahead.
So first we have to get through Mayu. That's the hard part.
It's like backwards. You would normally, Konami would be the henchwoman leading up to Mayu, but we're reversing the order, switching things up. And I mean, what can you say about the title reign that has been Mayu Iwatani's IWGP Women's reign? It is as long as it is for a reason. She is absolutely deserving of this long-standing, epic reign that has been to the Tokyo Dome, has been to America, has been to all the biggest venues in Japan for good reason. And Mayu has always risen to the occasion. She has always met the high bar that she keeps setting and resetting and elevating. And it's almost a question of, can she meet her own standards that she has for herself? And there's no reason that she can't. But once again, at the end of this battle, there will be a lot of questions that we will hopefully get some more clarity on. If Mayu walks out of this with the belt still intact, that could be an indication that her relationship and that her standing with Stardom will still be intact. But if she loses at the hands of Syuri, which is not going to surprise anyone, because there is no shame in losing to a person like that, it will start to solidify just a little bit more in my mind the chance that Mayu will take take a new, she will chart a new course in her career, either as a freelancer, as a wrestler in Marigold, or something, none of the above. So it really gets me conflicted on the outcome of the match. With this being Syuri's second challenge, you really think that she's not going to let the belt slip all over again. She's not going to let it slip from her grasp this time. But if anyone can shut her down twice, it is absolutely Mayu Iwatani. There is no doubt about that.
I think if we look, what happens if Mayu wins? The only thing I can think of is she can put more of a focus on the Stars drama. That's the only thing I can think of, because after this would be the conversion, and then after that would be the 5-star, which she's retired from. So, it's like, what else Mayu can do?
Yeah, that's a really good question. What else is left for her other than to build upon the legend that she has already solidified as IWGP champion? If she just wants to carry the torch and become not only an epic champion, but somehow an immortal, a damn near immortal champion.
Third IWGP Women's Champion, and that's where the history books just stop. 3 quarters, that's it. We done.
Yeah, maybe that's what she has her sights set on. And who's to say that she can't make that a reality? She can pretty much bring anything into existence.
I actually like that title. Mayu Iwatani, the Immortal Champion.
Yeah, that has a ring to it. That definitely has a ring to it. All right. Any final words about the show? This is definitely not going to be the last time that this show gets discussed. This is not an all-encompassing preview, and they still haven't even announced the entire card, we have to suspect. So is there anything else just at the back of your mind, or that you're kind of getting more hyped about leading into, what's going to be pretty much one of the toughest shows to top for a while, I think?
I'm really on the edge of my seat for Saya Kamitani versus Tam, because not just the match itself, that's going to be epic, but the aftermath. Are people actually going to retire? What's Stardom going to be like without its Phoenix Queen or its top Kawaii? What's Hate going to be like? What's Cosmic Angels going to be like? That's actually the bigger question. So that's like really got my attention. And what the hell is Sayaka Kurara's wish?
Yeah, why do you keep holding back? Just let us know. I can't really say much to the contrary of what you just said. These are some of the biggest questions we could be asking. If you could just going off of like what we've seen now. So I'm not saying you have to hold this opinion. Do you have a leaning one way or the other? Either so if we break down all the possibilities, and I'm not saying these are satisfying possibilities. I'm just saying if I could think of every which way that this could go, a couple things could result in this match somehow not being able to conclude. We've seen in the past, and it's not as common these days, but there have been non-finishes in the history of Stardom, even in very large matches in Stardom. The fact that they keep playing up this no seconds allowed got me thinking earlier today that maybe there is some level of interference that takes place. And because that's a direct violation of how the match is intended to play out, that somehow that leads to the match getting thrown out. Somehow that is such a disregard of the rules of this match that they engineer some weird storyline that causes the match to have to conclude without an actual winner. Now that's a little trickier to pull off, of course. We obviously have the eventuality of one of these wrestlers beating the other. So Saya Kamitani beating Tam Nakano, retaining her belts, or Tam Nakano beating Saya Kamitani and taking both of the belts, yet still being a freelancer. So that sounds a little goofy, but Stardom has done goofy things. I mean, I can't really deny the fact that they've gone goofy a few times. You mentioned the Wish. The Wish could come in and somehow affect this match. It could come in and say, I don't want this match to be a retirement match. It could come in and say, I want this wrestler who's retired to return to Stardom in, I don't know, exactly 1 year's time. Something kind of fairy tale like that. Like this person is gone, but they will be resurrected one day. Any number of things. I mean, we're dealing with Tam Nakano, who's got a lot of interesting ideas about the world. We're dealing with the new heads of Stardom, who we know are not afraid to change things drastically. They've done away with legacy factions and brought in new people, new heel turns, betrayals that we didn't know were even possible. They might have something really unique in mind for how the wish can affect this, or what a retirement could actually be. I mean, there's just so many different things that could happen. Or this is a shoot retirement, and one of these wrestlers just either does not want to continue or cannot continue for many different reasons. So it's a laundry list.
Yes,
but out of that list, does something stand out, just like kind of your gut feeling, as the most likely, or just something like the evidence seems to point one way as to what you think they actually want to do with the finish of the match?
So from press conferences and backstage comments, I've kind of been trying to focus on every word that Tam and Saya are saying, and to my knowledge, this match still has countouts and DQs.
Oh, interesting.
So there's a possibility both women get spared here via double countout or time limit draw.
Yeah, now that you're talking about this, pretty much the biggest match I can think of that was a non-finish that still was over and we still remember fondly is Utami Hayashishita versus Syuri, and I think that was from back in 2021.
Yes.
And what they did is they reached the time limit, and then they said, "Oh hell no, we're still fighting. We're not satisfied."
4 minutes.
Right. And then I think they knocked each other out cold.
It was a double knock.
So now that I'm starting to think, and I'm starting to try and get in the mind of Tam Nakano and get into the true realm of insanity, I think what could happen in this match is that they could go through one version of the match that doesn't have a finish, and then they say, "Oh hell no, this is the final battle. We got to fight again." And then something else happens that stops it from finishing. And they say, "Oh," and they just try to exhaust every possible way that they can get this match to finish, and they just can't do it. Whether they both knock, like you said, they both knock each other out, or they both can't get to the ring, because anything I could picture is not as crazy as what I think they'd be willing to do to keep them from getting back into the ring. You mentioned the time limit elapsing. That's definitely on the table. They've got something. They wouldn't extend this rivalry from the huge chunk of last year to the huge chunk of this year and build upon all of the history between the two of them if they don't have like a story idea to throw into this match. So we know they have that. And I didn't mean to, I think I may have actually cut you off, but now that we're talking in this vein, I could absolutely see them like trying their damnedest to just get somebody to lose, and it just won't happen. And no matter what they tried, no matter their best effort, they put everything into it, their heart, their souls, their lives into it, and it just couldn't happen. And I think that would be just about the main way that they could get to that point without the crowd just completely throwing it out the window. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, honestly, it's crazy, but it really could save it really can save both of them. Now, unless like something pre this recording comes out, like, oh yeah, this match will now be there must be a winner. Yeah,
no time limit. Yeah, no DQ, no countouts.
Yeah,
they just try to rule out everything.
Like, oh god, someone's losing.
Yeah, they're really walking on a tightrope, because you want people to be hyped for the show and interested in the match. And you want the crowd to feel like they have to hang on every moment of the match. But you don't want to make the crowd depressed ahead of time by overly communicating that, like, yeah, one of these wrestlers that you like is done, and they're going to go out on their back in a loss with someone that they can't stand, essentially executing them. You kiss them goodbye. So they're in an unenviable position, but at the same time, they put themselves in this position. So I can't.
They wanted.
I can't be too sad for them. So they put themselves on this freaking tightrope, and it is a million miles high, and they're going to have to navigate that. That's up to them. There's nothing I can do for them. They're on their own. They're too high up there. I can't do a damn thing.
Wait, you just gave me an idea. Wait, what if the only way Saya can beat Tam is with the Phoenix Splash?
Oh yeah, that's been on my mind as well. There's a couple things with finishers that I think really make this kind of like insane, and that's one of those. Is that nothing else will do the trick, and she might be driven, because she did start climbing the ropes at Dream Queendom back in December. She teased it, right? So if they were going to tease it and then continue this feud and continue this storyline, and they're trying to top that match because Stardom Dream Queendom last year, I believe that was the second most successful show they've ever run. They're trying not only to beat that, but they're trying to beat 2 years ago, the most successful show they've ever run. And 2 years ago at All Star Grand Queendom was the biggest match to ever deal with the Phoenix Splash. It was a match that was, and a story and a real shoot story and set of events that was all about the Phoenix Splash. That was the last time we ever saw the Phoenix Splash. There's so much about that move that ties into Saya Kamitani's career and the name All Star Grand Queendom that they almost have to do something. And it's not that she has to do the move. But if you're going to talk about so one thing with this match is like, how are you not going to play with the idea of near falls, right? Every near fall is like the most important pinfall attempt in the career of both of these wrestlers. So you're not going to get, if they want to do it this way, you're not going to get a more extreme, jaw-dropping, heart-wrenching, death-defying, earth-shattering near fall than Saya Kamitani landing the Phoenix Splash after she's been trying to pull it off the whole match. And Tam Nakano, who does not want to die, she does not want her career to end. She has only the strength to try and keep her life as a wrestler together, kicks out of it. So that's definitely something I've been thinking of. And the crowd would absolutely explode into 1,000 pieces if that happened. So, and guess what? Saya Kamitani and Tam Nakano, they're pretty damn good wrestlers. They're pretty damn good storytellers. So I wouldn't be surprised for a moment if they play it out in that way or in a way that I'm not even smart enough to come up with, because they're very good at what they do. And they are absolutely going to shock me somewhere. Just a question of how, where, why, and what. There's still a lot that we don't know about. There's still a lot that they are holding back, but it's going to be one hell of a show. And it'll almost be fun to see which matches either overperform, underperform, or do something against the grain or play into the expectations, but just in a beautiful way. I think we're going to get a mix of all of those things. I've just about broken my entire brain talking about Stardom here. The Stardom factions, the Stardom roster, and the future giant shows like All Star Grand Queendom, like even the Conversion 2025, are something we really need to prepare ourselves for, at least emotionally and mentally, because there is a lot hanging in the balance. There is a lot that stands to either be lost or subverted or changed or altered.
What matches do you think have the most hype surrounding them? And which outcomes for Saya Kamitani versus Tam Nakano do you think are the most certain? If you found this discussion valuable, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, or leave a comment to let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.